Hello YouTube, and today I'll be doing a quick tutorial on how to make a poster showcasing or advertising a product you have been working on. This could be used for a school project, or even in the business world if you were advertising a product you had made. It'd generally be used in a more formal way. You wouldn't tend to advertise like this with posters on the streets, but you'll get the idea. So to start off, you will need to have your product's name and probably a logo as well, maybe even just a logo, but obviously either will do. Below that, you will, just in small but somewhere visible, you will need the people who created the project, if you want that to be public, or if you want that to be shown to whoever you are showcasing it to. The project title, so if you're doing it as a particular school project, you'll put the name of that school project here, and then the school or the company you're doing this for. So that's not overly important, but it does make it look a bit more professional if you do that. Try to have a kind of header at the top with something that kind of fades in over here, like this keyboard I've got. First of all, you will need to actually describe what your project is, only briefly, but so people actually know what they're looking at here and what this project will aim to accomplish. Below this, you will need a section on how it actually works. You'll need to have a lot of detail, so if you were doing an IT thing, you would need what parts it's going to have, what software it runs, maybe even what you coded it in, etc, etc, and that works with anything, not necessarily just IT products. This section isn't overly important, but I think it kind of helps in a way, which is a common question asked. So if people are constantly asking you, does it do this, does it do that, how does this work, why won't it do that? You need an answer ready, and if it's a common question that you think would be appropriate for a poster, I'd recommend putting it on somewhere in the poster. So if you were making a CCTV alternative, like in my example here, you might put, why won't it detect me? There could be various reasons. Maybe if you're really smart, it's got a face detection and it only works for people who aren't you. I don't know. Where did the idea come from? In this section, simply explain how you came about the idea. So did you and your friends have a laugh about it and then you thought it was a good idea? Were you brainstorming ideas of how to make a load of money? I don't know. Something to go in there. Here you should put different people who have worked on your project, the main contributors. So the project manager or the leader or the person who's running the project, or maybe if you want another role there. Then you would have a couple of other team members going along here, what they did. For each of them you'll need to go into what their role was, what they did, what they enjoyed, and a bit about themselves. Doesn't need to go into loads of detail, but the more the better, really. Why it beats its competition. So, say for my CCTV alternative like I was using earlier, you might have CCTV is expensive solution, buy cheap parts, therefore making the product cheaper. Simple as that. Just do a few of these along here, and then that's really it. How it works. This works better if it's in a step-by-step, but it doesn't have to be. So go into quite some detail, not too much detail so that you overcomplicate it though, reasonably simple, but with detail, if that makes sense, on how it actually works. So first it does this, then it does that, etc, etc. That shouldn't take up too much space, but I've left reasonably big space here. Scope. Most of you probably won't know what a scope is, so I'm going to explain that first. A scope is what your product is aiming to achieve, how it's going to achieve that, and what it could essentially be in the future. So, pretty much an overall summary of your product. But it doesn't need to be every little detail, but the more the better, really. So, you need to describe the scope of your product, and, doesn't need to be massive, but it's very important that you do have something like that. Data gathered. Anything on this column here, for a start, isn't actually, you have to have it. It's all kind of optional stuff, but it really is helpful to have. So anything I say from now on you don't need, but it definitely boosts it if you do have it. Data gathered. Ask some people about your product and post the results here. Use quotes and hard data. So this means that you would go around the street saying, here's my product, would you use it, etc, etc, or you could do it online, or however else you want to do it. Ask your teachers if you're in a school, whatever. And then put some quotes of what people have said, put hard data, so 70% of people said they would use my product, etc, etc. Only pick out the good bits though, don't show all of it. If something's really bad, don't show that. obviously. The future. What you plan to do with your product in the future. So if you plan to continue your project after the deadline, and you just want to do it for fun, or even if you want to do it to make some money out of it, if you weren't planning to originally, you could do that. So you would essentially put here what your plans are, if you want to even sell it, if not, whatever you want to do with it. Or if you simply just want to stop, you could even put that there. But obviously justify that reason. And last but not least, how much would it sell for? So if you are going to continue it, and you do want to sell it in the future, how much would you actually sell it for? So if I use my CCTV example again, you would need a motion detector, possibly a camera, some wiring, etc. And so you would have to list out the prices, and you would have to list out which ones you would buy, possibly even where you would get them from as evidence that that's how much they cost. And then you would need to add them all up and explain how you're going to make profit. And really, that's all. Obviously, if you think there's something else you should include in your poster, feel free to go ahead and put it in, and also put it in the comments, and then I'll update the video if I think it deserves to go in here. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.